Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Obviously, we're excited to welcome Kristaps and excited to have him here. He's been here the last couple of days, gotten through all of the things you have to go through as part of a trade, and thrilled that he's here. I talked about him a lot the other night, so I'll let him talk more today and let Joe add on as well. But
Questions? Hand in the air, we'll hand the microphone.
So, Kristaps, just your thoughts for, when you first heard that the Celtics were interested. It's been reported that this was a team that you wanted to join.
Correct. Very excited when I first heard the news, and it was a pretty easy decision for me. Yeah, not much else to say.
Brad, is there any kind of extension or anything like that to announce? Is that something that's being worked on?
no, we'll have a chance to talk here in the next couple of days or next weeks or whatever it is. But, obviously we really like Kristaps. We want him here. We'll obviously have him next year and then hopefully beyond, but we'll see all that.
Kristaps, Tim Bontis from ESPN. You said it was a pretty easy decision to choose to come to the Celtics. This is obviously the best team you've ever been a part of, chance to go deep in the playoffs, something you really haven't had a chance to do. How excited are you about the possibilities with this group in terms of achieving those kind of goals? And where do you sort of see yourself fitting into what obviously is a team that's had a ton of success the past few years?
Yeah, exactly as you said. The opportunity to play for a really good team already, and to be able to add to that, and hopefully to help these guys make their life even easier. And just being on a high-level organization like Boston, historic franchise, iconic franchise, made it extremely easy for me to make that decision.
I was wondering how much of the Celtics you got to see during the playoffs, and if so, what were your observations?
Honestly, not a lot. Saw maybe a couple of games of the Eastern Conference Finals. I was in a different time zone, but now I'm gonna have to look into it more. I'm gonna watch the games, and it's postseason is always much more fun to see the adjustments for each game and things like that. So I'm gonna have to do some homework this summer for sure.
Hey, Kristaps, welcome. I was curious, you played with Luka in Dallas, you played with Bradley Beal in Washington. What did you learn during those two stops about playing with other stars? Because you will be playing with Jalen, Jason here. And for Joe, how do you see Kristaps fitting in next to those two, given his, high usage in other spots?
For me, as I said, I want to come here to make life easier for those guys. Hopefully with my skill set and my talent, I can take some pressure off of those guys. And that's it. I come here to try to make this team better. And I'm excited to play with such high-level guys that have been there from year to year, and have that experience already. So I think it could be a great combination.
And you just have to have a balancing. And it's a balance of how we want to play. And I think those guys have gotten better in their careers of playing together and playing as a team. And I think that was one of the strengths we had this year, was we were able to take advantage of our roster and of our depth. And with Kristaps coming in, that's a piece for us that we can implement into our system and our identity.
Kristaps, is actually two questions. The first one, what is something that Celtics fans should know about you that they don't know right now? And the second one, I saw you're wearing number 8. Clearly number 6 was not going to work here or anywhere else in the league. Why did you choose to wear number 8 as a Celtic?
Honestly, it doesn't have much meaning behind it. It was just a couple numbers available. single-digit numbers. So it was between 4 and 8, and I just went with 8. And then the first part was something that Celtic fans doesn't know about me. Good question. I'm gonna have to think about that. We come back to this.
I'll ask it again in a few.
Cool.
Kristaps, can you discuss last year? You had a career year in numbers in Washington. How comfortable were you? How healthy were you? And are you? Do you think you're entering your prime here?
I do. I think these are the best years for a basketball player. You're physically there, and you're mentally, really, really getting to a different level. And I think the work paid off for me. I looked at my game. I looked at how I can be more efficient, and just really analyzed myself. And it paid off last season. And all the work that I put in off the court to stay healthy. My body my body also maturing and just getting to that age helped. And I believe I have some great high-level years ahead of me.
How motivating is it that the organization is bringing you in, viewing you as the piece that puts them over the top in their championship pursuit?
How motivating is that?
Correct.
Yeah, it's the most exciting feeling that you can get, just the idea of that, it's that's why, as I said, it just made it super easy, and it made my complete favorite option that was to come here to Boston. And that fire that I got from that idea just is gonna gas me up for the rest of the summer and for my time being here.
And then defensively, what are your thoughts about pairing with Robert Williams and Al Horford, respectively?
Defensively? Those guys are already high-level defensive players, and both are really good protecting the rim. I'm going to be out there also protecting the rim, and those guards that are on the team, guards, forwards, everybody that are on the team, I think they're all like dogs, and they're going to make life even easier for us defensively as the bigs, because they're going to put even more pressure on the guards when they're driving by them and stuff like that. So I think this is a special team that I'm going to be able to join.
It's been a few years since you've played in the playoffs. Why do you think it didn't go as well as usually play in the regular season last time around? And what have you learned over the years about how you can thrive in kind of more physical game like that?
Why it didn't go so well in the playoffs, you're saying?
And why do you think you'll be ready for it this time around?
Yeah. I don't know if I'll be ready, Who knows? But I'm going to do everything I can to help this team. I'm going to be, I have a taste of it, right? I have a taste of it, and I know what it's like. The first playoff series were really good. Just didn't have luck. And second one was a different style, different kind. So, and each series is completely different. So I'm going to have to be ready for any kind of scenario. And as the year goes along, it's, we're gonna in the regular season, we're gonna find that rhythm. We're gonna find, that chemistry, and that's gonna carry us into the playoffs.
Kristaps, you mentioned at this point in your career being at a different level mentally. What kind of does that look like for you? What are you maybe seeing or noticing in that part of your game as it evolves?
I think it just comes with experience. Experience and knowing yourself, knowing your body, knowing the game. Everything slows down. And things start to click more and more the older you get, and you always look back, I was so, even just talking about life, not just basketball, I was so dumb when I was 21. And then you get 25, or now I'm 27, I'm thinking, man, I was dumb a couple of years ago. So it's always like this. You're always evolving, and you're evolving as a basketball player also. So probably I'll be a much better player by 30 than I am now, So I'm looking forward to keeping that growth and keep getting better as a basketball player.
And Brad, with free agency starting tomorrow, what I know you can't speak in specifics, but what are kind of the goals and points of emphasis as you look to round out the roster?
Well, I think the biggest thing is we just want to keep Obviously, we want everybody that comes here to understand what the ultimate goal is, right? And everybody that is a part of this group to understand what the ultimate goal is, and that's to put all of our strengths together and try to win it all. And so every decision we make will be with that as kind of the North Star. I think that it's very obvious we've got a great core of players that people will want to play with and want to be around, and we just have to find accentuators, people that accentuate that group. And we've talked about that in the past, and I thought last year's team, we had a lot of that. And I think as we sit here right now with who we have under contract and what our potential avenues are, I think we'll be able to have that again.
Hey Joe, when this trade went through, one of the first things that got fired up on social media was the highlights of his game against you guys at the end of the season last year. How difficult was it coaching against him? And how are you going to implement his unique ability to score in the post into what you guys do each night?
Get him the ball in the post. And, obviously every year when you have a different team, you have to do things that, play to the strengths of that team. And so the addition of, Kristaps will help us, I think, on our post. It will help us against specific defenses that we may have had trouble with in the past and give us just a different look, which I think is important, to continue to make these deep runs, is to be a dynamic team. And then, that game, I remember that very vividly. It was a very difficult game for us on both ends of the floor.
Kristaps, you obviously had an option decision to make as part of this trade, and obviously there were a couple iterations of it. It got up close to the deadline for you have to decide which way that was going to go. I was just curious what was sort of that night like for you as you were waiting for this to play out and see if you were going to wind up in Boston or not, and sort of what were the emotions like as that day went along and then when the trade got done?
Yeah, no, it was a crazy day for me. I was about to go to sleep, and then I heard the news that the trade didn't go through. So that kept me up for a little bit longer. But then by like 4 a.m. back home, I was like, okay, I'll go to sleep and see what happens. And wake up in the morning, and I saw that it happened, the trade happened, and I was just extremely excited and extremely happy.
Yeah, Bob Schwan, Palmer Journal. Joe, last year you, coach, and also Kristaps, last year you spoke repeatedly about the strength of the locker room. Now, Marcus was one of the team leaders, and that's a void that you're going to obviously need to address and ask you that. And then, Kristaps, you were with the team last year where obviously you demonstrated much more leadership last season. Can you guys talk about that issue, please?
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. He was a very important piece of the locker room to the city. And I think a strength of his was the ability to have an impact on and off the floor. And so that'll be missed. At the same time, we're bringing in Kristaps, who, from a personality standpoint, brings a lot of the same characteristics to where he works hard on the court, but he's also a guy that carries himself very well off the floor. And so I think that's important. And, the most important thing in our locker room is that whoever's on our team, we have a group of guys that share the same values and wanting to win and wanting to do it together. And that's what we have to build upon. And like I said, Chris, it's important for us, for me really, when they're learning about our players, that they're just as good as basketball players and people. And so I think Kristaps will, make our team better, but I think he'll make our locker room better as well.
Final couple questions. Go ahead.
Kristaps, you began your career in New York, obviously a high pick, a lot of pressure, kind of considered a cornerstone. How did that change you those years with the Knicks? How did that mature you? Did it mature you quickly, too quickly? What was that stretch like, and has that affected your career throughout your career?
Yeah, of course. I got drafted to one of the biggest stages, if not the biggest, and I had to learn a lot quickly. But yeah, I mean, it prepared me for anything almost, in the league, and now getting traded to Boston, it kind of made me realize how much I missed being in on a big stage, and and that's not like Dallas was great, of course, and Washington was great also, but I feel like this is a different level, different level of excitement and how good the team is and all of that. So yeah, I think New York helped me tremendously growing up and being prepared for almost any situation that you can be in the NBA.
Final three questions, Kyrie, B-Rob, and then we'll wrap up the pod.
Kristaps, you spoke about wanting to make life easier for guys like Jalen and Jason. I'm curious how having guys that can score like that will make life easier for you.
Yeah, no, definitely it will make it much easier. The same way last year, playing with Brad and Kuz, they helped me, but and same way Jason and Jalen, they're super high level guys. They're gonna pretty much have the whole team, the opposite team, all of their attention is gonna be on them, and that might make me offensively much more open. And I look forward to hopefully doing the same back to them and drawing some attention, as I said. So, yeah, it's gonna be a little bit of time until we find that chemistry on the floor, and it's gonna be, it could be a very good mix for sure.
It's a question for Brad. You obviously adding a key piece here in Porziņģis, but adding a significant addition from a salary standpoint for the payroll here. What is your flexibility heading into free agency here? You still have a green light to continually adding to this roster. You guys in a good spot at that point, and what are the challenges now of dealing with the new CBA and the kind of limitations that might be put on you guys on that front?
No, I mean, we're really lucky. We've got the green light, right, to continue to add. I think the biggest part for us is making sure that we are smart about building a team, right? And obviously you're always looking at it from the standpoint of, this year, but also down the road. But I do think that, again, we're fortunate that, we were deep into the tax last year. We'll, be into it this year and have the green light to continue to do it. We just want to be building a team that makes sense playing together. And sometimes that means spending more, and sometimes that means figuring out that you've got the guys to build around and then putting the right people around them, right? And so that's the challenge here moving forward over the next few weeks.
Brad, one to add to that, given some of the penalties that are in there from a CBA perspective, long-term, to adding, 3 stars together like you guys have now, what still led you to say this is the route, we need to go as a team here?
Listen, we're trying to win. And, everybody is very supportive of that from top down. Starts with Kim Pags and our ownership group, and we're trying to win. And we're going to try to do the best to put our best foot forward to do that. The required part of that is the right talent to build around it. And we're very fortunate to have a lot of talented players. Obviously, Kristaps is sitting up here. Jason and Jalen have been mentioned a ton. We've talked about Al and Rob. We haven't even mentioned Derek and Malcolm, right? And Peyton. We've got guys that are under contract here that are really, really good players. And so building a team around that all fits together in our best way we can is what we're trying to do. And so it's about winning.